here. It's my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Sulekh Jain and Judy Carmen, two of my favorite people who have done amazing work and who inspire me every day. Dr. Jain has written a book called An Ahimsa Crisis, You Decide, which is an eye-opener. And Judy just wrote a book called Homo Ahimsa, which is about the transformation that we are here. It's my honor and so when I saw privilege to introduce Dr. Sulekh Jain email, and Judy Carmen during the festival of Paryushan, where the Jains go through the process of forgiveness every year, which is such a beautiful ceremony that I felt was absolutely essential for the vegan community to embrace and to adopt. And I thought, what better way to do that than to get the two of you together to talk about this and what it means and what ahimsa means and how forgiveness is a part of that. So take it away, Judy.
Oh, thank you, Silesh. My goodness, I'm beyond honored to be asked to be on this with Dr. Jain. I'm amazed that I'm here with you. This is just wonderful. But Silas and I share this idea of humanity becoming Homo Ahimsa, actually believing we already have the potential to transition from Homo sapiens, which has done all this damage to the world, and become who we always really were, these loving beings. And by thinking from a point of view of Homo Ahimsa, we can heal the world. And if we keep thinking the way Homo sapiens does, we'll keep damaging the world. And so, but I think we all believe, especially those of us who have ascribed to veganism, that the potential for unconditional love and harmlessness exists in almost all people. Maybe all, but at least for sure almost all people. And people have just been trained by their cultures, well, especially American culture, to believe that we can dominate other beings, other people, and so now here we are in all this racism and all these other problems that are going on because of us living from the dominator worldview, which has caused all of us, if we've been raised in that worldview, caused all of us to have to remove all these programs that have been laid upon us. But I have always been fascinated by the Jain religion because you all go way, way back and understood this so long ago. And yet so many of the religions that have come about since then have ascribed to this dominator worldview and this hierarchical worldview, so that a lot of the messages of Jesus and Buddha and all the others have been lost or compromised in such serious ways. And yet the Jains somehow managed to hang on to that beauty and that essence of who we are, who we really are in essence, in our hearts and in our souls. And so I came up with the term Homo Ahimsa, and Silas really liked it as a way to say, you can't solve the problems that you created using the same mindset and the same heart set. And so now we have to go, okay, aren't these wicked, violent people in our hearts and spirits? We are harmless and loving in our hearts and spirits. Let's get that going. Let's wake up to that. Let's open up to how we can do that. And so the book I wrote, Homo Ahimsa, who we really are and how we're going to save the world, is talking a lot about the urgency of what's going on right now, which Sulekh is working so hard on, and trying to help people understand that we have to create a vegan world by 2026. And so there's a lot in the book about that and how close we are to needing to make this tectonic change in our consciousness. But at the same time, I see a lot of impetus among people and around the world. And this convergence, as you pointed out, Sulekh, it's like an amazing thing. And it does remind me of what Teilhard de Chardin talks about, with everyone converging, coming up the mountain and converging and meeting each other and realizing we've all been moving, not all of us, but many of us have been moving up to that point and leading other people that way too. So, but the Jains, to me, have been there all along. And so I'm just awfully excited to be here with you, Dr. Jain. So let me turn it over to you.
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I'm grateful to Dr. Sulekh Rao. He always gives me a lot more credit than I really do. Honestly, we met a couple of years ago in Houston, and then we've been, talking to each other. So let me come back to you. You gave me many points about the Jain tradition, and I'll talk about the Paryushan, which we just finished, and also the forgiveness. But before that, I just give a background very similar to what you said, Judy. Number one, Jain's been around for a long, long time. Probably, according to Jains, we've been as old as the Hindu tradition. So we are not a new tradition in any sense, according to Jainism, okay? Whatever that may be. But the concept of ahimsa, the practice of ahimsa, 24/7, in everything we do, is so ingrained from birth that it is just super. I give you one example. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. Give you one example that how ahimsa works, how non-harming works. In 1947, India was divided in two countries, India and Pakistan. Okay, some of you may be familiar. So Pakistan was created out of India. At that time, the animosity between two religions, it was divided on the basis of religion. And Hindus and Muslims were absolutely up to the sky. And so there were about 15 to 16 million people uprooted from their homes because of the violence that took place because of this hatred. And many, many Muslims were migrating to Pakistan from India. And many Hindus and Jains who were there for thousands of years, they were migrating to India side. In between that, there was a carnage of killing unnecessary simply because one belonged to one religion, not the other. Somewhere between 1 to 2 million people were just butchered and killed. Okay, I don't have the exact number, but it was a very big number. And the whole train was just completely massacred and all of that. It was just a horrible scene. Hardly ever humanity becomes that cruel to each other, human being. So many Jains from that part of Pakistan, which is now Pakistan, they came to India. And after a few years with one university here in the USA, one PhD scholar by the name Matthew Fisher, he went to India and we contacted many, many survivors of those days, these Jains. Okay, they had, you wish we could have done this, many, many years ago, but whenever we did. So we were able to contact them who were in their 80s and 90s because all these things happen. And it was a very long questionnaire of many, many pages, and with the live camera, recorded their interviews. And the whole purpose was, when you were migrating from Pakistan to India, Jains, when all the Hindus were being tortured and killed and butchered and raped and their houses were being burning, how were Jain community affected? Were they affected as much as the Hindus and Sikhs, or any less? To the surprise of us, which I did not know at that time, Judy, all of us, all of them said that they were not harmed at all. And they were not, none of them were butchered, none of them was killed, none of them was harmed, and none of them was, their houses were burned, none of their ladies were raped, okay? Okay, this is astonishing. Astonishing in a sense, how come, when the humanity has gone so mad? And the reason they said that the Muslim brothers and sisters with whom we had grew, we were born, we raised, we worked, we did the business and all the trading. They said these Jains are special people who do not even harm a chant in the ant. They all these years never harmed us. Okay, when they will not kill even an ant and mosquitoes and all of that, so they have not done any harm to us. So because of that, we were spared. Okay, this is a super example of ahimsa. Anywhere you will find. It's not theoretical. Okay, so with that, that's a very eye-opener. Something in the whole entire human race. We need to look at more and more communities where they did not walk away from ahimsa, did not compromise with ahimsa. Okay, and I'm not saying that Jains are the only one. I'm sure when you start looking, you will find many other examples. Now, coming back to Paryushan and the Sulekh, that was the theme that Sulekh Bhai wanted. Now, there are, in every tradition, in every community, in every religion, there are many, many festivals, there are many celebrations that take place. The Jains are no different. One, there will be historical, like Independence Day, 4th of July. Okay, India's Independence Day, 15th of August. That is a historical, something happened on that day, and it is celebrated, okay? Irrespective of religion, caste, color, creed, whatever it may be. Then there are certain other festivals which are in celebration of recognition of somebody's birthday, or the day of martyr day, or day of birth, okay? Jesus Christ's birthday, Mahatma Gandhi's birthday, which is coming up pretty soon. So many of these throughout, every community has these. Okay, that is again historical, but to commemorate, to pay homage, to pay respect to that particular person. Okay, then there are so many other festivals that take place throughout the community, throughout in India, there are Diwali festival, there are Holi festival, there are some stories, there are something happened again on that day. But there are very few festivals that is completely where there's no founder of those days. There's no beginning of those when they started. There's no one individual, because they are not after the memory of any individual. Those are those days, you self-talking to self, your dialogue with the self, not outside. Okay, those are the days of 18 days. And there are two major traditions in Jains. One is the Digambar, another is Shwetambar. First Digambar 8 days, and the day it ends, then 10 days starts, same days for the other tradition. Over in India, those may be two, but the walls between these two traditions are paper thin. They are not very, So over here, the Indian Jain community over here, we have tried to celebrate not 8 days and 10 days, we have celebrated for practically 18 days. Okay, because the walls have been set. So what happens in those days? In those days, those celebrations, number we don't celebrate anything as except those festivals are festival of giving up food, giving up all your other possessions, becoming a kind of monk, renunciate, if you will. Okay, Those are not that you cook those food and eat all these goodies and all that. No. In fact, many Jains during those days, you will be surprised. First of all, a minimum fast within the Jain community is 36 hours, minimum. And if at all, only water only, little lukewarm. And you do not put anything through this mouth during the night. So whatever you little bit water during the day only, but no eat, nothing, okay? So there are many hours, probably many hundred in this country during those 8 days or 10 days. Many, I will say close to 200 youth and our adults. They had 5 days, 8 days, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, up to 32 days. Complete fast without water, only with water, but nothing, zero. Okay. Why is that so? Why is this so important? Okay. The importance is that those days you leave your craving for food. Okay. And after people tell me I've not done that, after 3 days, your craving for food goes away. Okay. First 3 days may be difficult, but after 3 days, the craving for food goes away. So what do? In those days, you do not go to your business. You do not go to your profession. You do not crave for food. So you are only concentrating completely, not outside, not about others, but about yourself. Okay. So those are the festivals. You do contemplation, you do meditation, you do yoga, you listen to some scriptures. Okay. But that's all. No other celebration. So on the final day, there's a beautiful tradition. In fact, during every day in the evening, but especially on the final days of 8 days or 10 days or 18 days, what we call is a celebration of forgiveness. What do we do on this forgiveness? This is, Paryushan means taking stock, walking back. Okay. Walking back from what? From walk from life, from other profession, from daily activity. It is a day that you make your balance sheet of life. Just like in any business, you have P&L statement. What did you gain? What did you lose? Same thing, we have to take stock of our life. Okay. What that means is that now we take a stock of 365 days. Actually, it should be done every day, and people like me do every day. But on that day, the community gets together in the places of worship. Some places maybe 1,000 people or 10 people or 15, depends upon the size of the community. Okay. They sit all together, and there's a whole process of 2 hours that you look at all your faults, all your egos, all your desires, all your wants, all your angers. Okay. There's a whole systematic process which has been developed over thousands of years, just to draw attention of the people, because sometime I may not remember those, what I have done. So you say, if I have done any harm to any of these, I sincerely, without any condition, unconditionally, I ask for forgiveness. I ask for forgiveness. And if they have done to me, I also want them unconditionally give them forgiveness. Okay. So what happens on that day? We go through this process, and after this 3 hour, 2 hour, whatever process is done, then during those process, we ask for forgiveness from only Sulekh bhai, which I did send him an email of asking for forgiveness, but also from all the entire universe, from 1 sense to 5 sense. You know, we human beings are 5 sense, but animals are 5 sense without, that much freedom and not that much brain. So from 1 sense to, which are the small insects, to even the vegetation and vegetables, they are all 1 sense. Okay. Then 2 sense, little insect, and then things that move, and then snakes, and all these things, 2, 3, 4 sense, 5 sense, very well defined. We ask for forgiveness that if I have done any harm, I ask for forgiveness. If I say that mantra, Khamemi savve jiva kamantu me, mitti me savve bhuye su, varam majham na kenai. This will be on the lips of every Jain. What it means? I'm asking for unconditional forgiveness from entire universe, all the living things in this universe. Okay, I have no enmity towards anyone. Okay, and I am also doing the same to you if you have been any hindrance in my journey of life. Okay, then after that, everybody will stand up and we will go to each and every one. Of course, it becomes difficult to go to all 1,000 people. Then we say again, Michami Dukram. This is the word, is used. Kshma Yachana. Mean again, I ask for forgiveness. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. If these are elders, we bow down to touch their feet. If these are of the similar age as I and Sadesh, maybe we will just embrace. Say, please, Sadesh Bhai, if mentally, verbally, physically, I have done any harm to you, in any shape or form, knowingly and unknowingly, I ask for your forgiveness. The whole purpose is that we clean our slate that day, so that whatever has taken place, it's completely gone. Okay. Now, we do this for in many ways. We do this in congregation, going to people. Okay. We also say in my family and many other families. My family is very small, but we are 7-8 people spread over in 2-3 parts of the country. My son and his family live in Houston. My daughter lives in Iowa. My wife and I will live here in Las Vegas, and my 2 grandchildren live in California. So we get on Zoom, and when we are together, then we will sit together, and we will ask for forgiveness from each and every one. They will ask for me, and I will ask for them, because there's no monopoly that I cannot do any harm. Okay. Okay, so we ask for forgiveness, whether it's a 2-year-old child or whether a 90-year-old person. So we do that all. Okay, so that done. Now, then we call our friends on telephone whom we have not seen. If we can go and see them, great. Okay, and it used to be in small towns and villages, but not now. Huh? So we call them, Sulekh Bhai, I'm asking for your forgiveness, and I sincerely mean it. Now, this is done quite regular. Now, things become ritual after a while. Ritual, tradition. So what has happened? So over the years, in my lifetime, I've seen when we were living in a small town, we will go and talk to everyone and ask for forgiveness. But then printed cards came up. Printed cards. It says all of that I just said. Then we will mail. I have mailed to Sulekh, I'll mail to others. Okay? And though it became purely ritual. You follow me? Now, that has gone much further. Now we send thousands of emails. Okay? Even to those people who have never met. It became a style, it became a ritual. Okay? So, at least that tradition is there. Now, give you a few examples how it works or does not work. Sulekh Bhai knows I'm involved quite a lot in establishing, not alone with the Jain community, chairs and professorships, endowed chairs and professorships and postdoc fellowships. Not in Jainism, I would say, when I say Jainism is all ahimsa. Ahimsa is Jainism, Jainism is ahimsa. So we have done this at least 20 universities. And endowed professorships. Okay, so it's very interesting. Once a few years ago, we had many of these academics when we were talking about these our Paryushan and the selection. Okay. And this happened in India, I would say about 15 years ago. And there were Jain community people, and we were probably 100 people, Jains, and this professor from University of Hawaii, who had come to study this tradition of Paryushan and asking for forgiveness. And he said, after listening to all that, it's very interesting. It's very interesting what you Jains do. Okay, this is not a tradition in any other culture that he knew, even though there are, but forgive. He said, I want to ask you, you Jains, you do to each other, to Sulekh and Sulekh to me and all of that. Many of the Jains are pretty affluent. You have thousands of workers and thousands of people work in your factories, in your office, who work for you. Do you go and do the same thing to them as well? You followed me? Okay. To my surprise, not a single hand raised up, because it has become so ritualistic. So that opened eyes. And several people who had factories, ownership, he said, from now on, it has opened us our eyes, years, that it is not something we should go and do. Those people who work for, who make my living, who earn for me, okay, I should do, have I. So it is becoming, more and more we do this. Our youth are very much involved over here. So I've done enough of talking. If there are any question, I'll be happy to. Yeah, please.
So can I talk, or somebody ask any question?
There's some chat here. Let me see what.
Okay.
One is thank you, Kiki. Love you. Oh, there's not a question. I was wondering. Okay. Yeah, please go ahead, ask.
Well, I was just, while you were talking, especially about the history that you told about all those people that were killed and how the Jains were spared, it made me think this really is what we're talking about, to move everyone into that space of non-harm, non-violence. And imagine how that would change the world. If everyone could follow in the Jain footsteps and ascribe to ahimsa values of non-harm, it actually puts a real picture on what the world would be like. And eventually, if you kind of carried it out, eventually the people who had violent tendencies, who were angry and all that at other people, if everyone had ascribed to these Jain principles, everyone else, then they would just all have to go, well, I guess we can't hurt them because they've never hurt us. And then it would just, kind of grow from there. So it's, we've all been working to visualize, imagine what this vegan world is going to look like. And veganism really is ahimsa in action. And so if, as we go to put this together, we can look back at this history that you told us about. And I mean, it's so thrilling to think of that spirit, really spiritual thing that happened, where you all were protected because of your kindness and your non-harm. And that's where we're heading. I believe we can get there. And thank heavens for you all to kind of be lighting the way. So thank you so much for
I want to
everything
say
you
quickly,
said.
I have my daughter here, beautiful daughter, Dadi Vyasa Huja. She's also in this. So namaste. And Ada, I want to leave you with a thought. Just, I know probably you will be finishing very quickly. This example of the migration of Jains from Pakistan to India, I'm sure there are many examples, whether with the Quakers or with many other people in the Christian traditions who did not walk away. If there is a way even to produce a very good film, that there is another way. Gandhiji said, there are thousands of causes I am willing to die for, but not a single cause I'm willing to kill for. This is Gandhi's word. Okay. So if there is any 5 year, 10 years from now, a movie like this, okay, the power, just like Dolly is making Power of Ahimsa, Land of Ahimsa. Okay, if we can bring out a very feature film, we do not have to kill. Killing has never solved any problem. Okay, so if that is could be possible, there are people who will write this script. There are people probably, it does not have to be any religion oriented. It has to be humanity oriented. Okay, so I just want to leave this thought, and I'm available if there are more time, more questions, but it's up to at your service.
So it's entirely up to you, Dr. Jain. I know you had time constraints because...
No, I have another 20 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
If you people have, you don't get bored. Huh? Okay. So ask question, we are sharing. Okay, dialogue. Yeah.
Go ahead,
Dolly.
Hi, Dr. Jain. How are you?
I'm just great. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. I just wanted
you call me uncle, not Dr. Jain.
Yes, uncle. I've read Dr. Jain's book, The Ahimsa Crisis. Beautiful book he's written. And Dr. Jain, please, talk about the temple in California that has gone completely vegan. Jains are making this transition, and I'm so happy to see this. Please tell us about the Jains who are transitioning, and this temple that has gone completely vegan.
Well, let me share a few things, Dolly, with you, which are very good. Number one, of course, I can brag. I've been a vegetarian from thousands of years within my generations and family, but I became vegan 30 years ago. And it was a very quick, right away transformation, because a friend of mine went to a dairy farm to look at dairy in Vermont. After that, I took 40 Jains with me to really visit a dairy farm. Okay, so there was no question that if I cannot be affected by that, when will I be? I always consider that dairy industry is nothing but meat industry. It is not a milk industry. It is a meat industry. Okay, and more cruel than slaughterhouses for regular animals, because we torture over a long period of time. Okay, so now what has happened with the Jain community, the people who have come from India, they are extremely resistant to veganism. They come up with all kinds of arguments. So my tea with vegan milk will not taste, will not be this, and I need to have ice cream, I need to, all kinds of, if I get nonsense. Okay, so but the Jain Center in Los Angeles, which is about 2,500 families, I would say 8 to 10,000 people, that became completely vegan 4 years ago. Okay, but we did the same thing at the Jain Society or Jain Center in Houston when the president she was a vegan, but I do not know, Dolly, if that is still the case over there.
Well, Dr. Jain, they've made a lot of progress. Okay. They're not completely vegan, but they said when they're building a new temple, yes, and they want to go completely vegan when the new temple is built.
Yes.
But they should just start right now. But I know they've made some progress.
Okay. But let me also share to Judy and everybody that I mentioned a few minutes ago that we are at 20 universities in America and Canada. And when we signing up that document with them to create or establish and give them the funding, it was written in our documents that every function related to this Jain position or Jain chair or Jain function will be pure vegan at every university. Okay, so, and honestly, they are way ahead of us. Okay, so they have they are very sensitive, and I think when people come to those gatherings and there are 100 people or whatever number, many of these people, they are not Jains. That this food tastes so good, it's so tasty. Why not we have it more and more again and again? Okay. So it is spreading slowly. I would like to see in my lifetime. Jaina convention, we have tried to make it vegan. We have not been successful, but at least one day, and Sailesh Bhai will know, there was separate booth for vegans and non-vegans, and one day it was pure vegan. So hopefully, in next time, all the Jaina conventions will be vegan. So that's where the progress, slow progress. Okay. What else? Come on.
I have a question.
Rebecca? Yeah.
Oh, yes, I do. So you were saying that you did this forgiveness practice. Was that daily for those 18 days, or is it a day? How often is that forgiveness practice of telling each other, I forgive you completely, and you know,
Okay.
tell everybody?
Okay. This is supposed to be every day. I do not have to wait for 365 days. If I have done something to Sailesh Bhai or to Dolly or whosoever, okay, I should immediately think about this every day. Take at least 5-10 minutes to talk to my soul. How was my day? Take a stock, make a balance sheet of my life of 24 hours. And I'm not bragging that I do this every day, okay, before going to bed. And if there's something, there are many times I become angry. I have a short temper sometimes, okay? And okay, and honestly, 2-3 weeks ago, I became angry for nothing on somebody in California somewhere. Okay, so it bothered me that evening when I say, why did I do that? So next day I called her. It was not Jain, it was not an Indian. I called her. I say I'd lost my temper. So not only I apologized to her, but I also wrote a letter to her. Okay, this is me. But this needs to be done every day, not something ritual on after 365 days. But sometimes tradition, if it's not every day, do it every month. If not every month, then do it every quarter, like this. But people, that has become more ritual, I would say, than, so it is a daily tradition what should be done. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And anything else? Are there any question? I see some chat here. Is there any?
That was beautiful, Dr. Jain. I mean, I think you are absolutely right. This needs to be something that is part of our daily way of being, the forgiveness. Begging for forgiveness and offering forgiveness.
Yeah, there's a mantra I chant which I learned. Jam jam manen vaddham, jam jam vayen bhasyam pavam, jam jam kayen kadam, tasme chami dukram. What it means? Whenever mentally I thought of ill of anyone, whenever verbally I did any abuse to anyone, whenever physically I harmed, I ask for forgiveness. This is a mantra. If you do that, then you take a stock of 24 hours. So that's at least to keep that in perspective. Thank you, Sulekh Bhai, for arranging. I'll be happy to join more whenever this opportunity arises. Okay.
It's always a privilege, Dr. Jain. Thank you very much.